a very tough decision has been made in Bakhmut, but don't worry guys, because not all hope is lost, because potentially Ukrainians might attempt a final all-in strategy which will help them to keep the city. Besides that, Russians attacked themselves in Belgorod, and Putin will be taking over Chechnya. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Well, rate from 1 to 10. This one, my personal estimations will be like, so like 6. So, today's episode of ridiculous Russian propaganda is President of Chechnya Ramzan Kadyrov saying that he wants to name one of Chechen cities literally after Putin. Like, just like this. Imagine, what's your address, bro? Well, I live in the Communist Street, house number 2, city Putin, Chechen Republic, Russia. Literally, city called Putin. And I mean, we all kinda know that Putin pays Kadyrov to be his friend, but I mean, that's already over the limit. I mean, just asking maybe real questions here, just how much Putin pays Kadyrov to be so loyal. And guys, I have a surprise for you. You already seen probably close to several hundreds of my videos wearing this yellow hoodie, and 2 most popular questions is whether I ever washed it. Yes, I did. And the question number 2, am I wearing under it something? Well, right now, the moment of truth, the first time ever, the Russian dude removes his iconic yellow hoodie. And here you go. It is the first and probably the last time ever you're gonna see it like this. But here you go. Green military green merch t-shirt, which has the Russian dude TR dude in yellow, which is also going to be a part of my upcoming merch. The grand release will be happening this Saturday, February 17th at 6 AM Eastern Standard Time, but if you are a Patreon member, or if you even just follow me on Instagram, you already have early access to the Russian Dude merch. Go ahead and check the link on these platforms. And here is another major surprise. First 50 of you guys who buy literally anything from the store will get a personal video message from me. So please go ahead, because the time and the items are very limited. The links to my Instagram and Patreon are down below. Alright, and now let's get back to the classic the Russian dude we all used to and talk about Russians attacking themselves in Belgorod. And then I'm gonna give you a very quick update from the south and the east of Ukraine, where the situation in Avdiivka at this very moment is critical. But Ukrainians potentially might have a final all-in solution. And so yes, first of all, speaking about Belgorod, right here is the video of a destroyed trade center, which Russians allegedly attacked themselves, at least according to Ukrainians. They said that it was a Russian metallic cylinder which malfunctioned and fell on its residential building. Russians obviously claimed that this was the attack direct one by Ukrainians. Guys, please let me know in the comments, who do you believe personally? Besides that, right here is another video from Kursk, where a local oil refinery, as always, spontaneously got caught on fire. And then right here is the video from Altai military enterprise located in Russia, where they are producing things, let's call it like this, for the front line, and there was a very loud noise with the smoke coming afterwards. According to the locals, this is not something usual, but according to the factory representatives, quote unquote, they were just performing some kind of tests. And well, what do you think is the response by the Z army for these attacks against military-related objects? Well, there was another mass attack against the territory of Ukraine, such as, for example, right here is the video from Kiev region, which shows the crater from the impact of a Russian metallic cylinder. Next are the photos from Kharkov, which show that the local civilian buildings have been severely damaged as a result of a Z army attack. Next we have a photo from Zaporozhye region, where another civilian object has been targeted by Russians. And ultimately is the video from Lviv all the way to the east, where reportedly at least 16 residential houses were severely or slightly damaged as a result of the most recent Russian attack. And right here we have the map which shows all the points, all the cities which Russians attacked in Ukraine in the last 24 hours. And then right here is the pathways that Russian drones and metallic cylinders were taking in order to try to be a little bit harder to be intercepted by the Ukrainian air defense. But luckily, Ukrainians were able to intercept 13 out of 26 Russian aerial targets. Unfortunately, still no ballistic and no hypersonic missiles were intercepted. And now, as promised, let me give you just literally a couple of words from the south of Ukraine, and then we go to the east and talk about critical situation in Avdiivka. But first of all, guys, if you can help me out, if you do appreciate this style of daily updates, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel to help with the YouTube algorithm to share this video with more people. Thank you so much. And so yes, first of all, the first thing to mention about the south, the Russian Admiral of the Black Sea Fleet, Viktor Sobolev, has been removed from his position. I mean, it was obviously this thing was about to happen any day at this point, because Russian Navy in the Black Sea, at least, they were not doing pretty much anything. They were only losing ship, or I mean, converting them into submarines. And the question here is, will he just be removed? Or will he be quote-unquote removed? I think we'll know soon enough. Next we have a video allegedly also from the southern front lines where a Ukrainian FPV drone is destroying a Russian infantry fighting vehicle, causing a massive ball of fire. Our next stop brings us to the northern border between Russia and Ukraine, where Ukrainians were able to destroy a Russian raider called Kasta 2E2, not just destroy it, but completely annihilated it. And then as we get closer to the eastern front line, specifically to Crimea, right here is the video of the complete obliteration of two Russian multiple launch rocket systems called BM-21 Grad, and additionally Ukrainians were also able to destroy another T-90 modern combat tank of Russians. Then is the compilation video from Belgorod, where Ukrainians were able to destroy not one, not two, not even 3 or 4, and not even 5, but 6 infantry fighting vehicles of Russians. And as you can see, today I had to show a lot of censored, unfortunately, footage in order to comply with the YouTube guidelines, but as always you can find fully uncensored photos and videos, and also get early access to the Russian Dude episodes on my Patreon. The link is down below. Our next stop brings us to Bakhmut frontline, where it might seem like nothing is happening, but the assaults by Russians continue, and so to the west of Khromovy, Ukrainians were able to destroy at least 4 armored vehicles of Russians of various kinds. And just overall, in the last 24 hours across the entire front line in Ukraine, Ukrainians were able to destroy 16 areas of concentration of manpower and equipment, 5 artillery firing positions, 3 ammunition fuel depots, and 3 radio electronic combat vehicles of Russians. But obviously, without a doubt, the main center of attention of the recent days in the Russian-Ukrainian war is the city of Avdiivka. First of all, recently the 3rd Assault Brigade of Ukrainian forces, they did confirm that they are already relocated to Avdiivka and they are fighting for this city, but the situation is critical. There is this even interview with the representative of the Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade, Alexander Borodin, who is saying that at this very moment Russians outnumber Ukrainians in Avdiivka 7-1. And even though it is very complicated, Ukrainians are still trying to protect the city to the best of their ability, and Russians at the moment of recording this video control only 15% of the city. But unfortunately, some crucial territories are being occupied by Russians, such as for example right here in Zenit military district, which Russians were able to capture recently. They even released this video showing them installing their flags, both Russian and the Soviet Union. And besides that, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago Zelensky visited Avdiivka frontline, and apparently Russians were even able to capture this position as well, which is very symbolic for them. And I mean, we do know how much Putin loves symbolism. And right here on this map, you can see how Avdiivka frontline has been changing only over the last couple of days, which, as you can see, the advancement of Russians is pretty significant, especially in this Zenit military district area. Next we have this map which shows the Russian airstrikes against Avdiivka, and this is only in 24 hours. So as you can see, pretty much Russians intensified their assault attempts significantly recently. And in addition to that, Ukrainians were able to repel most of 25 assault attempts of Russians against Avdiivka also in the last 24 hours alone. But the city is still under the control of Ukrainians. Once again, it is very complicated, but Ukrainians continue to fight back. And right here, for example, is the video of one of Ukrainian Bradley infantry fighting vehicle destroying the positions of Russians. And then is the video from the Russians themselves, who are claiming that they are representatives of one of these brigades that is operating in Avdiivka, and only 30% of 4,000 brigade remains alive, which basically means that yes, Russians do capture territories in Avdiivka, but they still continue to use exactly the very same tactic of mid-assaults. And as a result of all of this, unfortunately, a pretty tough decision has been made by the Ukrainian military, which has been communicated to us, to the representative of the Ukrainian military, Dmitry Lihovoy, and he basically said that Ukrainians had to retreat from some positions in Avdiivka to take more advantageous defense positions. But don't worry guys, the hope is not lost. Sometimes you just have to temporarily give up some territories in order to occupy better positions, which might potentially help you launch counteroffensive in the near future and attack the enemy from unexpected positions. Such as, for example, right here is one of the representatives of Azov battalion, Bogdan Krotevich. He is mentioning that whatever Ukrainian army is doing right now, which is basically trying to keep Russians fighting them wall against the wall, just to try to protect themselves from the advancing Russians without doing anything else. This, according to him, is a very wrong tactic. And what exactly Bogdan Krotevich says in return is that Ukrainians should take more advantageous defensive positions. Once again, the decision exactly which was made several hours before he made this post. And instead of just fighting them face to face, wall on wall, Ukrainians should try and cross Russians. They should try to advance to Russians' positions from the north and from the south, basically to try to attack them from the flanks. And I mean, to be honest, if you think about it, it does make sense. Russians were fighting against Ukrainians in Avdiivka for several months straight, and neither of the sides switched their tactics. Russians continue to send mid waves after waves, while Ukrainians continue to hold their positions as much as they can. So it is probably time to try something new. At this point, it's not gonna be costing them too much. At this point, they have to risk and go all in. Because after all, even according to the representatives of the White House, Ukraine might lose Avdiivka because they're running extremely low on artillery and other munition. So, in case there is an emergency assistance from the west to Ukrainians, specifically fighting in Avdiivka, there was a very big probable chance that Russians might capture the city, giving another, not gonna call it a victory, but another symbolic victory for the regime of Putin. I will keep a close eye on Avdiivka situation because it will be developing very rapidly in the next couple of days. So guys, if you want to stay in the loop, just subscribe to my channel. It only takes one click and it helps the channel a lot. Thank you so much, patrons, for your support. Please go ahead and check my Instagram and Patreon if you want to have an early access to the Russian Dude merch, and see you tomorrow.